haven't been on an overnight backpacking trip in a while, so I thought I'd bring you along on the planning I'm doing. I'm sure some of you have not done it before or have not done it for a long time like me, and I'm going to share with you all the things I'm doing right now to plan for the trip, and then after the trip I'll come back and I'll talk about what I got right and what I got wrong in the whole process. There's my shameless pitch. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll see the follow-up when I make that one. I'll be going with my 2 adult-ish sons, so I don't have the stress of going alone, but I am the one doing most of the planning. So the first thing I had to do was pick a route. We're going to do a one-night overnight on a section of the Long Trail. That's a trail that goes from the southernmost point in Vermont to the northernmost point. So my first challenge was to try to find a section of trail that was about the right length to be challenging, but also fun, something that might have some interesting terrain or nice views. And one of the biggest challenges about the Long Trail is where the sections break up, where you can access a road. So making sure that we'll be able to get into the trail and out of the trail in the reasonable amount of distance that we want to pick. So in other words, making sure that when we park a car and we leave a car at the other end, the distance in between is the distance we want to cover. So the Long Trail is kind of handy because there's a guidebook for the whole trail, and for every section there's an elevation profile. And this tells you the section of trail, the distance, and all of the peaks along the trail. It also has this section which writes out each of the landmarks on the trail, so whether it be a shelter or a view or a place where it crosses another trail, each of those is marked out here with the distance between them. So you can do your calculations to make sure that you're not planning something that's going to be farther than you can handle or too short to be fun. It also has a written out description of the trail, and in there it talks about the shelters. So that's the next place, is making sure that there will be places for us to stay that are at the right spacing apart. Paper map is good for me to visualize it, so I also looked at the paper map, and not to overdo it, I went into an app that I use and marked out the trail digitally, and I'll download that map to the phone. So that's how I picked the route so far. It might be a little overkill, but it's helpful for me and I enjoy the planning. The next piece that I start thinking about is food. Most of the planning I'm talking about are the things that are unique to each hike. So things like a tent and a backpack, those are things that I'm going to take with me and do pretty much the same. I mean, I'm not someone who has the money to have lots of different tent choices and lots of different backpack choices for the situation. So the things that I'm thinking about in this planning video are the things that are unique to this trip. And so that's picking the route, thinking about food, and thinking about the weather. I've looked at the weather. It looks like it's going to be pretty warm. If it were a cold trip, I might really factor in more hot meals, but I don't think that's going to be what I'm looking for on this trip. For simplicity, I figured I'd do one of those backpacking, overpriced, freeze-dried meals, something I pick up in a backpacking store for dinner. That way I just don't have to worry about it. It's simple and straightforward. I went to a couple of the local outdoor stores and the shelves were pretty thin. I'll probably order something online and see if it gets here in time. The next stop was the grocery store, and I haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to bring, but I know there's a couple of pieces that will factor in. One is it's only a one-night overnight, so I don't really have to worry about food going bad, especially things like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. 2, it's only a one-night overnight, so I'm not as worried about like the scale and the weight and that kind of thing. So things that I picked up at the grocery store that will probably factor into the meals for me or for the boys. Possibly the most important thing is this. I went to Starbucks and I got a couple of these little instant coffees. They taste really good. I use them whenever I travel because I'm kind of particular about my coffee. So now I know my mornings will be good. I got some trail mix. Sometimes I make my own. I just want to make it easy, but we can split this up and whoever wants trail mix can bring some. Fritos are a must-have for me on a hot, sweaty hike day just because that salty crunch is such a treat. I got a bunch of these flavored tuna packets because you don't have to worry about them going bad. They have lots of protein and they're easy to eat fast, so that's something we might use. Also, sometimes I mix them in with like ramen or couscous or something like that. I didn't bring it outside with me, but one of my staples is what I call the power tortilla, and that is just taking a flour tortilla and wrapping it up with peanut butter and jelly. It's kind of like the perfect hiking food for me. I also got a bag of peanut M&Ms. That's the treat when everybody's feeling tired. I got ramen because they're easy to make and cheap. I also got some cheese sticks, which are still in the fridge, maybe some salami or pepperoni. I feel like I really like a salty, meaty snack when I'm hiking. And I think I'm going to pack some hard-boiled eggs this time because it's just that one night overnight. So with those tortillas, I can make a lot of different things. I can make my power tortillas. I can make a tuna wrap. I could make a tuna and cheese wrap. I could just make kind of like a cheese stick and salami wrap. I can eat the tuna right out of the package. If I wanted something hot, I could do the ramen noodles. I'll probably take some kind of a granola-based bar for breakfast because I think it's going to be hot and I'm not going to want to deal with cooking. We're just going for one night, so yes, I need the energy, but I'm not that worried about having the right balance of calories and nutrition because it's just 2 days. So what about water? That is one of the things that is unique to every hike because I want to make sure there's enough water available on the trail. That's one of the things I can look up in those guidebooks. And then I need to have water filtration. We have a gravity filter. I've had it for quite a few years, but I'll check it and make sure it still works. And then I have the 1-bottle hydration system, which works with a smart water bottle or some kind of disposable water bottle. I like that rather than a bladder. It's just easier to deal with and easier to clean. I have a whole video about that. Let me check my notes and see what other pieces of planning I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about the trail. Where are we walking? That's the key thing. That's the most important decision. Mapping that out on the app and making sure that works offline or having a paper map. Food, again, less critical on a one-night overnight, but thinking about what I'm going to bring and that good mix of comfort and calories. How about a tent? Well, we have a great marmot tent that I bought quite a few years ago. We pulled it out the other day and tried setting it up. The good news is it's super light and it's in good shape. The bad news was all of the shock cord, the stretchy cord that holds the tent poles together had lost its stretch. So my son got that repaired, so that'll be ready to go. And that's backup. We're hoping to stay in the shelters, but it makes us all feel better to know we have a tent. And I can tell you, putting the 3 of us, me and my 2 grown sons, in a 3-person tent is not the most comfortable, but it's just nice to know we have that option. And then the pack, I have my Gregory Jade. I have a video about that one. It's kind of an old friend pack. Again, none of this stuff is sponsored. This is just what I use, and I tend to keep and use things for a long time. And then water, making sure there's enough water. I have a plan for filtration, and I plan to carry it and drink it, especially it's going to be hot and humid, so be sweating a lot. I'll bring electrolytes. I use those even at home. Let me know if there's something I forgot, a mistake I made, something I've overlooked, and then come back in a couple of weeks, and I'll have my debrief video where I'll talk about what I missed in the planning, what I got right, and what I would do differently next time.